Here's my preview of the Baylor at Texas women's basketball game. I for sure believe Texas will be a top 20 team. Baylor's probably not going to receive votes, but they might receive votes. But either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Because Texas is going to be a top 20 team no matter what. It's a matter of how high will they go. So, first of all, what are some players to keep an eye on for Texas? Shaylee Gonzalez, number 2, 5'10" guard. That's a senior, 12.6 points per game, 40 for 118 on threes, 80 for 92 on free throws, 4.2 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists per game, 2.6 turnovers per game, 1.6 steals per game, 2.5 fouls per game. Rory Harmon, number 3, 5'6" guard. That's a sophomore, 12.1 points per game, 7 for 39 on threes, 52 for 86 on free throws, 4.9 rebounds per game, 10.1 assists per game, 3.2 turnovers per game, 2.4 fouls, steals per game, 1.9 fouls per game. Diana Gaston, number 5, 6 for 2 on 4, that's a junior, 12.2 points per game. So really, those two should be switched, but that's just besides the point. 52 for 77 on free throws, 5.7 rebounds per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, 1 block per game, 1.1 steals per game, 2.8 fouls per game. So, I'm going to double check real fast on that. I might need to fix the order, but I'm going to put the stats in the description below so y'all could see it. Especially when you're watching the game and even before the game, to know what are some players to keep an eye on. And I realize Baylor's been struggling recently. I know they have, but they've gutted out the last 2 wins. I mean, with 10-point victories over TCU and Texas Tech, and especially Texas Tech, they were down by 4 at the end of the third quarter and just woke up in the fourth and they couldn't make a single shot. So, and you got to realize too, Baylor's defeated some ranked teams on the road this year. Iowa State. I then ranked Kansas, which I know they've fallen off a bit. I know they have. And you beat Oklahoma on the road. So, actually, Warrior Harmon averages 12.2 points per game. So, yeah, I'm going to have to readjust that too. But still, you know what I'm saying. It's definitely some players to keep an eye on. So, I'll fix that for sure. But the next player I'm going to mention, she has not played the last 5 games due to a leg injury. But she might play. I know she's warmed up. She warmed up the last game. It's just I'm not sure if she's going to even play. And that's Sonia Morris, number 10. 5'10" guard. That's a senior. 12.1 points per game. 46 for 120 on threes. She's the best three-point shooter. 12 for 18 on free throws. 2.8 rebounds per game. 2 assists per game. 1.9 turnovers per game. 1.4 steals per game. 1.7 fouls per game. Now, Taylor Jones is number 44. A 6 for 4 forward. That's a junior. 9.2 points per game. 33 for 52 on free throws. 5.2 rebounds per game. 2 blocks per game. 1.1 turnovers per game. 2.6 fouls per game. Khadijah Faye, or Faye, or whatever. Faye. I apologize if I butchered that last name. Number 26 for 4 forward. That's a junior. 6.2 points per game. 55 for 79 on free throws. 5.6 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.1 steals per game, 1 block per game, 2.6 fouls per game. Shea Hall. Number 10, 6-foot guard. It's a junior. 5.5 points per game, 27 for 66 on threes. She's another one of those good 3-point shooters that she can shoot. 11 for 20 on free throws though. 2.1 rebounds per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 1.4 turnovers per game, 0.8 steals per game, 0.6 blocks per game. I'm only going to mention the next 2 players here because the other 2 that I know that are listed above 3 points per game or more only played 6 games this year. And that's, the first one is Ndjakelenga. The last name is Mwenetanda. I don't want to butcher those two names. First and last name. Number 32. 6'2" guard. That's a freshman. 4.5 points per game. 3 for 16 on threes. 35 for 51 on free throws. 2.4 rebounds per game. 1 turnover per game. 1.8 fouls per game. Now, the last player I'm going to mention is Enema Muhammad. Number 14. 6'4" forward. That's a freshman. 4 points per game. 15 for 37 on free throws. 4.9 rebounds per game. 1.4 turnovers per game. 0.8 steals per game. And 2.5 fouls per game. I will say this. I don't know what the status on Kylie Abraham is for Baylor either. She got hurt last game. Never came back in. But rule number 1, across the board, limit your foul trouble. Now, defensively, you got to contain the shooters. But you got to be a lot better against the slashers and get some defensive rebounds. I mean, especially, it's going to be a challenge because Texas has height. But if you could get some of those big girls in foul trouble, that would help. I mean, you got to limit their second chance points. That's what killed you last time against Texas. And the points off turnovers and a transition, not really a transition, it's just the second chance points that killed you. And the points off turnovers somewhat. Yeah, that's the two biggest areas. And getting pounded on the glass. As is. And you gotta force turnovers, and so you can get points off of those. I mean, it's true. And you make Texas uncomfortable in this game. You have nothing to lose here. Seriously. You have all the game because no matter what, you should be, and you're not in a bad position in terms of the NCAA tournament. Right now, you should be in free and clear without being on the bubble. So, now, offensively, you got to take care of the ball a lot better than you did last time. I mean, it was more like that second half that was the problem against Texas last time. You got to make some shots, unlike the last time against Texas. You have to. I mean, you can't allow Texas to have one big quarter and basically destroy you. I would also say you got to get some offensive rebounds so you can get some second chance points. You got to get points in the paint if possible. Just get good shot selection. You got to have crisp passing. You got to not have so many dead ball turnovers. Limit those as much as possible. So, I will also say you got to make adjustments on the fly on both ends of the court. You might even need to play zone, possibly, just to help yourself. Because right now, I don't know if Sonia Morris is going to play. But even in spite of her not playing against Oklahoma yesterday, they destroyed Oklahoma at their place. So, they're not a three-point shooting team. Texas is not a three-point shooting team. In fact, last game they only attempted 10 three-pointers. And they made 5 of those. I mean, they won by 22. Final score was 67-45. So, it's not... And this is a Texas team that's not invincible. They're not. They lost to Louisville, who's a 7 through 10 seed or 6 through 10 seed right now in the NCAA tournament. They lost to South Florida. Of course, they lost to UConn. That's excusable. I mean, that's... But Texas is not a great free throw shooting team. Necessarily. I mean... But still, you don't give them chances at the line. Which is another key thing on defense. Don't let them get to the free throw line. Now, you have to find a way to get to the free throw line and make yours count like you did last night. So, that's obvious. And as a team, they only shoot 67.6% from free throws, and they really only have 3 players above 30% on threes. 3 players. That's it. So it's no secret. They're not a 3-point shooting team. They're not. Even Rory Harmon can't shoot. She's below 20% right now. So I'm just pointing out the facts on Texas on this because remember, this is the same Texas team that lost to Texas Tech in Lubbock. They're not invincible. They're really not. They almost lost to Kansas, though. Kansas is not a bad team. They're an NCAA tournament team. But still, they even lost to Oklahoma State. That's below them in the Big 12 race. And that was a game before we played them last time, and they were fired up. And you got to be prepared for the press, which I don't think they're going to use necessarily, possibly not. Because after that game against Texas Tech, they decided, we're not going to use the press. I mean, and like I said, you have nothing to lose here except your dignity, and that's it. Let's be clear. Practically, you have nothing to lose. Because you're going to be an NCAA tournament team no matter what. As long as you take care of business against West Virginia the following game, which I'm not overlooking Texas by any means. But if you beat them and you avoid a bad loss in the NCAA tournament, Big 12 tournament, and luckily we're not going to have to possibly face one of those bubble teams again after next game. After this game here against West Virginia at home. That's the fortunate news you don't have to worry about. Because right now, Oklahoma State would play them. And hopefully Oklahoma State beats them. So, we don't have... And not only that, they would be on the exact opposite side as us in the Big 12 tournament right now. They would be. So, it's not... It's definitely a good thing. We're not going to play against teams that are bubble teams, and they're going to be dangerous, and they're desperate for wins. Of course, like I said, they lost to Louisville. They even lost to Marquette, who's on the bubble. So, they're not... As you could tell, even with Aaliyah Moore, who's out for the season with the torn ACL, which I hope she's recovering from that, they're not invincible. They have lost to teams that have ended up worse than them at this point. They're the only team in the Big 12. Hear me out here. That is going to host potentially the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Everybody else, no. That is in the tournament right now. No way. Sure, we're not one of those teams either, but you know what? We can have a chance here to play spoiler. And there's nothing better than spoiling some team that's trying to host the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. And not only that, it's against a rival. And they're first place in the Big 12. I know they are. But this is the same Texas team in the Big 12 that lost to Texas Tech at Texas Tech. They lost to Oklahoma State. They're not a bad basketball team. They're number 3 in the Big 12 right now. And yeah, they lost to Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and they even lost to Iowa State too. So, and you know how Iowa State's been struggling somewhat too ever since Stephanie Soares got hurt. So, they're not, and Iowa State's not even going to host the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament either. So, this Texas team is not invincible. You got to go in there and be competitive. And regardless what happens, you got to learn from it and move on. And got to give yourself, this is a quality game that you could really, really help your NCAA tournament resume, especially when you want to try to move up from a 9th seed or an 8th seed to possibly a 7. So, I don't know about 60. That's pretty much far out there unless you went out and you win Big 12 tournament. And who knows what happens in the Big 12 tournament. Upsets do happen. And like I said before, there's no better chance than right now to spoil your rival in a situation where they're coming off of a big time win, but then after a big time win against a rival, first of all, in Oklahoma, especially if it's going to decide who's number 1 or 2 in the Big 12 at the time. So you just got to continue to fight and 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 have that mentality. We're not going to back down in this game. Anyways, if you like this content, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. 5 subscribers. We're on the road to it. Let's go.